I am intimately acquainted with bread. That is to say, not only do I enjoy a good piece of bread, during the pandemic I began testing various recipes for bread that lead us to a place where we could have not just a side offering of gluten-free bread, but that we'd have a loaf that could be shared by the entire community so that we were sharing the same loaf. There's nothing wrong with most churches that provide a gluten-filled loaf and then a little side section with a few gluten-free pieces of bread. I have nothing against them. But for me, the symbol of the table and the fact that we do it every week and the fact that we share this bread led me to want to have the bread that we share to be the same for all of us, that we all are connected through it. Now, as we look at the Lord's Prayer, those first four phrases that we looked at are really cosmic in their sense. You know, our Father in heaven, holy is your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Now, we've talked about the deeper meaning. We're not going to go through that all again. If you want to see, they're all available. All of those videos are available on our YouTube channel as well as through our webpage. You can watch them all again. So we've moved from a cosmic concern to a very personal, everyday kind of concern. When we start talking about bread, we're talking about food, sustenance. And what's interesting about the word in Aramaic, lachma, is it means more than just that piece of bread. It means whatever sustains us, what we might need in the moment. It is bigger than bread. It's like when Jesus said, "I am the bread of life." He was talking about something that not only we feed on and chew on and swallow and the calories help sustain us physically. He was talking about sustaining our mind, our soul, and our body together. All of those bits. The idea of bread in this passage is the bread that we need, the bread in all its forms that come to us. So when we say those words in English, give us today or give us this day our daily bread, we are asking to be sustained today. Not only physically with that sandwich we're going to have at lunchtime or whatever, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually throughout this day. What I need in the moment. Now, intriguingly enough, the first word, give, or give us, that is certainly one translation of the first word. But it also means empower the human to create the bread for today. You know, deliver that to us by your power through the hands, through our hands. When you look at the Aramaic, and we miss this completely in English, absolutely completely in English, the same word that is the greeting, what we translate as our Father, which we talked about in the first week, is so much bigger than just our Father. It is the one who created and is creating and will be creating, birthing this entire universe all the time, constantly, in constant motion, constant birthing. It didn't just happen once, it's ongoing, an ongoing work. The same root for that word by which the prayer begins is the root of the word to create the bread. So it means give us our bread, certainly. But it also means let us be co-creators with you of this bread that we will share and eat together. It is an invitation to recognize we're part of the process as we get beyond looking at this cosmic first four verses, first four lines. We move into the very personal. What do we need in our daily lives? And we begin with bread. The sustenance of our bodies, minds, souls, spirits, emotions. The ones who carry us through. Now, something that is completely omitted in the English translation is the word dasunkunan, which essentially means the bread that I need. It's about trusting that what I need right this moment can be delivered to me from God. That I have enough right now. And it requires trust. We live in a world where trust is absent. Let's just be honest. We have heard so many lies now across so many pieces of information that is put out these days that and there's a purpose behind those lies. So that we begin to wonder what is really true. Even when someone speaks a fact, we don't know if it's a fact or not anymore because we've been so much hearing all the falsehoods on all the fronts. We live in what one social scientist I know has called the post-truth world. The idea that there is a truth we have access to has been eroded by all this lying, by all this false information, by the constant change of information. The belief that if you lie about something enough times, people will come to believe the lie. Living in that kind of world erodes trust, and yet this line is all about absolute trust in this moment. God will not abandon me in this moment. What I need right now, whether it's physical sustenance, spiritual sustenance, I came to really trust this week. As I told you, Dad's in an intensive care unit. I sat with him for long periods of time. We've had lots of meaningful conversations in our lives. On Tuesday, we talked about death. I asked him how he felt about that, and he told me about where he was and his own sense of peace personally, but his concern for us. We've had serious conversations several times this week. What I needed in any given moment was available to me through trusting in God because God provided the bread I needed. Sometimes it was a run to Chick-fil-A. We did that with Mom one day. She needed some food. We needed some food. It was late in the afternoon. Ran over to Chick-fil-A, ate some food, left some other people sitting with Dad. Sometimes it was literal food. And sometimes it was enough to be able to sit with Dad. Enough to be present and to trust that even though he and I were silent, sometimes because he was asleep with his breathing apparatus of various kinds on, and sometimes because he didn't have anything to say, and because his breath support was challenging, talking was a little challenging for him at points. Because of that, I could sit in silence, he could sit in silence, and that was enough for us. Lachma, that was enough bread for the moment. When I was overwhelmed at times emotionally by all and mentally by all of the information that was coming at me. As Dad's spokesman, I was constantly listening to doctors, all the different services, listening to them. When I needed to understand something, I was there. When I needed a moment to talk to a medical professional, on Friday morning when I went in, his day nurse, Katie, sat down and talked to me for 15 minutes. Just broke from, in the ICU, they only have 2 patients per nurse. She made the time to sit down and talk to me about my concerns. Lachma, the bread I needed in the moment, was provided. It was provided. Was it an accident? You can think it is. Was it a coincidence? You can think it is if you want to. I knew bread was provided. In some ways, even though this week I've been meditating on a whole different, I'll tell you. This week, meditation was a little out there. I was not able to really focus on any of the Lord's Prayer this week. So I took a little break, knew God was okay with it, knew you would be okay with it, the world would be okay with it. The only person who might struggle with it is the one who's standing here talking right now, who is like, oh my gosh, I've got to stay on top of this. No, you've got to love your Father and be present. for the rest of your family. That's what you need to do. You'll get over not meditating this week. But that phrase might as well have been my meditation this week, because lakma, the bread I needed in every moment, was there. When I needed sleep, it came. When I needed to do some work I woke up early, unexpectedly early on Thursday, and was able to do our Ruth Thursday cast sitting on the guest bedroom, in the guest bedroom of my parents' house before we went to the hospital. Right after I called to find out how Dad was doing. All those pieces came together. That was lakma, the sunkunan, the bread that I needed in that moment. This line is an invitation to trust God is going to provide enough right now. Enough is another bad word in our society. If we listen to, if you watch enough commercials, you aren't enough, you don't smell good enough, you aren't clean enough, your house isn't clean enough, you don't drive fast enough because you don't have the right car, your computer isn't fast enough, you need a faster one, your phone isn't good enough, you need a faster, bigger, more expensive one. Nothing, you need more food, more. This is an invitation for us to reflect. This phrase, the beginning of the non-cosmic sense of everything, is an invitation for you to say enough. To see this moment as enough. What I have right now, it has to be enough. And this moment too, enough. Now, just as a throwaway piece, the last word of that phrase, it's 4 words in Aramaic. The last phrase, when we say a day, we think of a 24-hour period of time. That's not the way Aramaic thought works. There's day, that's when the lights are out. Outside, the big light that we call the sun. And then there's night. In that first century, they would never say a day and mean 24-hour period of time. When they say day, they're talking about day. When they're talking about night, they're talking about night. And they're a wonderful partnership from an Aramaic perspective. It's not either or, good or bad. It's that they work together. God made night and day, and what did God say about those? They were good. So they are. So that partnership. So what we need for today is, while the light's shining, what do I need for those who depend on me, who are in my immediate circle? What is absolutely needed? Not just what do I want beyond all of that, but what is needed. And inviting ourselves to trust that through God's creative force connected with ours, that first word, that there'll be enough for us today. So a question worth dancing with for yourself this week is, do you trust that you're enough in this moment? With God's grace, you're enough in this moment. Do you trust that really trust that God is enough? I look at my retirement account these days, because I am getting closer to that day when that's going to happen. And I say, do I have enough to retire? I'm not even retired yet, and I'm piling up for the future. And my focus is on that. It's always a good thing. I'm not saying don't save. I'm not saying those things aren't important. But what about right now? In this moment, do I really have enough? Am I really enough? Can I trust God enough to know that in this moment, what I need will be provided? And remember, that line is not give me my bread. Not give me my bread. That seems to be another attitude. We don't have time to talk about it, but that's another attitude of our society. Give me mine. This is give us ours. That means if I have a loaf and a half, I got some to give away. And if you got a half, you've got enough for you. But if you have 6 and you're keeping some of them, you're actually stealing it from the mouth of others. That's how first century thinking went. If you had 2 coats and you kept them, you stole a coat from somebody else. You don't need 2 coats. You need enough to keep you warm. That's it. I look at my closet now and I think to myself, oh my gosh, how much am I stealing from people who really need some clothes? I have 15 St. James shirts. 15. Black, tan, gray. You don't see any of those colors, so I don't wear most of those except the black, but I've got all those. Really? When there are people without enough and I've got that much? So use this week as a reflection about more than just bread. You might meditate in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening and just say bread. You don't have to know the Aramaic word. It's not magical any more than the Hebrew word is. Lahem. Both mean bread. Just a little side piece for cocktail conversation. Bethlehem means house of bread. Just a little side piece. Bread. Every morning during the week, I was working on this. Bread. Give me what I need, when I need it, in the moment. That's all I ask. All I ask. And I was never let down. Even when I wasn't paying attention, I've never been let down by God. Never. Except maybe when I expected things from God that God never promised He would provide. So, let this week be an opportunity. What do you really need? Are you enough? Can you trust God? Give you today the bread that is needful for you in this moment. Not so that you can store up a bunch of it, but that you have enough right now. Can you trust God that much? It's worth asking. Linda, if you have a reflection for us, we will welcome it.